The Portuguese Grand Prix returned for the first time since 1996, and what a return it was. Those opening laps were absolutely spectacular, so let's just look straight at them. There were a few things about this Portimao circuit that made this the most bonkers start to a race I can actually ever remember. Who would have thought Carlos Sainz would go from 7th on the grid to lead the Grand Prix? Kimi Räikkönen's in the lead fight, having started 16th on the grid. And Lewis Hamilton, for once, is struggling on the opening lap. But it was a new track surface in Portimao, and this was the key to quite a lot of it, on top of a circuit that lent itself really well to side-by-side action. There are a lot of reasonably long, but also fast-flowing corners that you can have multiple lines through. And in Portimao, that was quite important to really add to the racing as well. But it was the tyres that dominated the start of the Grand Prix. A little bit of drizzle coming down, temperatures not that hot, and Pirelli bringing the hardest of their range of tyres as well really meant the warm-up was extremely difficult. But no one thought it would be as difficult as it turned out to be. So we get off the line and it all looks quite normal at this point, but everyone on the outside, once again, the same as Nürburgring, has made a good start. And now it might be because in Portimao and Nürburgring there's not been a load of support series, so the inside of the grid has just simply got no rubber on it at all. And at least normally you'd have Formula 2, Formula 3, the Porsche Super Cup. You'd have some other series just rubbering in the inside of the grid. But once again, you've got Hamilton leading, third on the grid. Verstappen has already passed Bottas, and Perez has made a great start as well. And then Sainz as well is flying up on the outside in the McLaren. It looks like Verstappen's got the move done, and Red Bull chose to go on the soft tyre to start the race. This was always going to be a really difficult one to choose from. Friday's running was pretty messy, 2 red flags. The drivers never really comfortable on a track most of them didn't know. So there were a lot of unknowns in terms of the strategy, but the warm-up was always going to be an issue, and that's where the soft tyre really helped. And immediately it gives Verstappen the advantage coming through turn 1 on Bottas. If we pause it on the exit, he's actually clean past Valtteri Bottas into second place, and you thought that is what the Red Bull strategy was all about in Q2, giving Verstappen a bit of track position. But oh no, Valtteri Bottas is a new man. Pretty much since Mugello, he's turned a corner in his racecraft in the first lap. Early on in the season, he'd been looking in his mirrors after losing a place on the first corner, maybe been swamped by another car or two like he was in Monza. But this time he's just getting his elbows out and he's really aggressive, and he chucks it back up the inside of Verstappen at turn 3, forces Max very wide, and then makes it up to second place. Verstappen then coming through turn 4 has a big hit with Perez and knocks Sergio Perez to the back of the field, and now Verstappen's the one looking in the mirrors being swamped. He was on a soft tyre. You thought maybe he should be the one challenging the Mercedes, but if we pause it coming into turn 5, it's now Carlos Sainz that's all over the back of Verstappen, and he makes it through on the next corner. So if we switch now to Carlos Sainz's onboard, you see Perez and Verstappen have their hit at turn 4. Sainz goes really wide, not knowing if Perez is going to go inside or outside. He just thinks, I'll go as far away from that incident as possible. And he comes on right behind Max Verstappen. Now, if we pause it into turn 5, you see Hamilton has a big lock-up. Then we roll it through. Bottas is locking up, Verstappen's locking up. There's no lock-up for Carlos Sainz here. So Sainz has got better grip, basically. He's got more warmth into the front tyres particularly. All the others have had front lock-ups, the top 3, but Sainz is okay. Hamilton goes very wide, Verstappen goes very wide on the exit as well, and Sainz has just got really good grip in the McLaren. He's on the soft tyres, but Verstappen ahead's also on the soft tyres. And there are a couple of factors that can help in this instance. Having a stiffer car works the tyres a little bit more. Plain downforce really helps as well in these conditions. So there's a couple of things on the car that can really help. And both McLarens were actually pretty strong early on, and actually both Red Bulls were struggling because Albon also fell out of the top 10. But also Sainz is on it, and confidence is a big factor as well. And Sainz is just absolutely confident, putting his car in the right places. He's got the grip from the tyres, but he's also working them probably harder because he's carrying more speed through. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, really. If you have a bit of grip, you have confidence, you attack, you get more grip. If you don't have the grip, then you're chasing your tail a little bit, and that's exactly what happened to Lewis Hamilton. Sainz makes it up to third, and then Hamilton here is just no confidence at all, which is very rare for him in a low grip situation. He's on the medium tyre, a used medium tyre. It's a really difficult one to start this race on. And Sainz just goes straight around the outside, and a lap later he passes Bottas for the lead. Incredible scenes, and it was all about tyre temperature for him. So if we go back and have a look now at that move for the lead and see why Hamilton's confidence was knocked, it's pretty clear what went on there. If we go on board with Bottas coming out of turn 4, Hamilton's got a nice lead. Bottas has had his own little tussle with Verstappen, and Hamilton at this point is okay. But he's about to have a big lock-up. There he goes, locking the right front into turn 5. Bottas has a lock-up as well, but Hamilton's then twitchy through the corner, really out wide, and he loses plenty of time. But the big damage is about to come here. On the exit, this kink at turn 6 is a nothing, easy flat in dry conditions. But look at that, Hamilton has a huge twitch coming through the apex, and now he's thinking, what grip have we got? There's a bit of drizzle on the visor, he's got no reference points ahead of anyone else, and he's just had a big front lock up, he's had a huge slide from the rear, both axles not really working, and he's just cautious. And Bottas is less cautious at this point and just chucks it up the inside at turn 8. And again, this is in keeping with the new Valtteri Bottas in terms of aggressive racecraft on the opening lap. He goes for it up the inside. He's also probably got some question marks on the grip. It's low for everyone, and both Mercedes are on a used medium tyre to start. But this one was just a couple of big slides from Hamilton in quick succession, just knocked his confidence entirely. And that's where you got then Carlos Sainz on the back of him coming up to the top of the hill at 10 and 11. And Hamilton's just driving on ice at that point, because whilst Sainz is confident, he's got grip and he's more confident, Hamilton's not so confident, he's losing grip, he's sliding, and that makes the tyres even worse for a little bit. So he actually did well to regroup without losing any further places after Sainz passed him there, Lewis. Now, so much has happened on this start. We've already forgotten about Perez's crash with Max Verstappen, but let's have a closer look at it now. We'll go back to the launch, and Perez is also having a good start from 5th on the grid. He's on the better side, and he's already alongside Valtteri Bottas into turn 1, and he's on the soft tyres, which again, crucially, the warm-up on these soft tyres better than the mediums, and he's on the attack. But Bottas does well at the first corner, and there you see Valtteri up the inside of Max Verstappen, bit of a slide, he's got very low grip, but he makes it back through to 2nd. And it's that allows Perez a great opportunity to come around the outside of Verstappen on the exit, because Max has been hung out to dry by Bottas. He's actually dipped a wheel in the gravel. And Perez turns in, and you can just see on the inside the front wing of Verstappen, and suddenly he turns in and he just washes completely wide. Cold tyres, very low grip in general, and he's got Valtteri Bottas just in front for a bit of dirty air for good measure. He's simply not got the grip. And if I pause it there, you see Perez is still turning quite hard left. He's got more room to play with on his right-hand side, and he is pinching Verstappen quite a lot at this point. So it's a bit of an accident waiting to happen, this one. Perez hasn't really given Verstappen enough margin on the inside, considering the angle that Max is coming in at, and the dirty air, the cold tyres, the low grip and everything. Perez probably needed to give him a little bit more space around the outside, and he was hit into a spin, and what he thought would be the start of a long, horrible race for him at the back of the field. It was a really great recovery drive from Perez, almost 5th in the end. He just slipped down to 7th after being passed at the end of the race. But nonetheless, it was a great drive. I do think probably he can blame himself a little bit for that first lap one, though. I think he just needed to give Verstappen a little bit more space, and he had room to play with on the outside. So that was a look into the crazy start of the race in Portimao, but there was plenty of action during the race as well. For more of a look at the Stroll-Norris incident, and for other midfield battles as well, check it out on F1 TV.